Hello and welcome to Instructionless, where building is all about creativity, imagination, and a little bit of guesswork. Today we'll be building a set from the Botanical Collection. That's right, we're building an orchid. But with a twist, no instructions allowed. All we have to guide us is the box itself. But who needs instructions when you have the power of creativity and a passion for building? Let's see what we can come up with using only our hands and our minds. Are you ready? Let's start building. This set comes in at a whopping 608 pieces, the most I've ever had to work with so far. The overall construction of this plant seems simple, but it's important to go in with a plan. The orchid is made up of 4 key components: the flowers, the stems, the leafy bits, and the pot. As usual, I won't be needing this. Remember, since we're doing this the instructionless way, the numbers on the bags don't matter. Now that we have the packages out of the box, it's time to empty everything onto the table. It's always satisfying to open up this much Lego. That being said, it's a little too messy, so I'm just going to move some of these pieces around and make a little Lego rainbow of sorts. Alright, let's take a look at our plan and see what we have to do. Right now, we're going to start with assembling the pot. I'm going to grab all of these grayish blue pieces, as I can see that they make up the sides of the pot. When I look at the box, I can see the pieces that were used. Now I just need to figure out how to reverse engineer them. When building Lego sets like this the instructionless way, there's always bound to be lots of trial and error, but the key is to keep building and trying different combinations, and eventually you'll figure it out. After looking at the box again and seeing a plate underneath the 1x2 slope at the top, I was able to assemble the pieces in a configuration that matches what I could see on the box. I then used this 2x2 plate with a pin at the bottom to connect the 2 halves, and there we go. Now all that's left is to assemble the remaining pillars that make up the pot. Okay, so I've assembled all the pieces that make up the outside of the pot. Now I just need to figure out how to make the interior part that they all connect to. When I'm looking at the box to see what pieces I should use to build something, typically I'm looking for things that I don't see on the outside, like this rotatable plate piece, these circular plates, and these beam pieces that I'm assuming I have to use in order to connect these pillars to the outside of the pot. Not going to lie, at this point when I was assembling, I realized that the pot is actually cylindrical in shape, and this blew my mind. When I was looking at the box, I thought it was a square. But anyway, there's no time to worry about that. Instead, I just have to keep building. And oh boy, I'm having a hard time trying to figure out how I'm going to attach these pillars to make the outside of the pot. I have these circular plates that I'm assuming make up the interior of the pot, but I'm just trying to figure out how to stack them in a way I can get the correct height I need. I realize that if I use these rotating pieces and stack everything on top of one another, I can get more or less close to the height that I need. I then decided to attach these circular 2x2 pieces so that I could create a stronger interior. Right now, the new challenge I'm currently struggling with is trying to figure out how to attach these side pieces to this main interior structure. After playing around with this for long enough though, I started to rotate all these different levels and realized that if I use these 1x2s with holes in them, I could rotate each level at a different angle that would allow me to attach the outside pieces and create that cylindrical shape I'm looking for. The only reason I was able to figure this out was that I just forced myself to keep building. As I was building, I kept trying new things until eventually I stumbled upon what I needed to do. I then decided that I should remove these 2x2 circular brown pieces, as I felt like I would need them later, and instead put this Technic piece down the middle to hold everything together. Before I moved on any further, I wanted to test my idea to see if it actually worked. So I attached a peg to the 1x2 with hole, and then the beam, and then connected the outside piece to the beam. To my surprise, this actually worked really well, and I decided to go around and repeat the process. And just like that, I have a cylindrical pot for my flowers. It's a little wobbly, but it works for now. And with that done, it's time to get started on building the leafy parts. But before I actually get started on assembling the leaves, I need to put together the base of the stems so that I can attach everything later. From here on out, things should be a lot easier to assemble. The thing that I like about these leafy bits is that they have very clear shapes on the box, and recreating the exact configuration and how everything gets placed is very easy. Now that I have all the leaves assembled, it's just a matter of figuring out how to place them inside the pot. For this, I had to take out all these rounded 2x2s and change the layout so I could fit more of them inside and create more spots where I could connect things to. And with all the leafy bits in place, it's time to get started on the stems. Similarly to assembling the leafy bits, this part's easy, but a little tedious. I'm not really following the box super precisely with this part. I am trying to get some similar shapes with the stems, but getting a 100% accurate recreation is definitely not going to happen. And that's part of the fun. I'm not trying to create a 100% accurate recreation. If I was, I'd be using the instructions. Assembling the rest of the stems is more or less the same thing. And just like that, all the stems are now assembled, and it's time to start adding them to the pot. They're looking really good, and I can really start to see this build come to life. But the one thing I've noticed is that the stems are very wobbly. This, however, is a problem for future me because it's time to get started on the flowers. Looking at the box, I can see that the flowers seem pretty straightforward to put together. The only issue is that I can't see the back of any of the flowers, so I don't know how they attach to the stems, and I also can't see how they connect these 3 smaller petals. Like I said before though, it's important to just keep building and keep trying different combinations, and eventually it'll come to you. After playing around with this piece for long enough, I decided to flip it over, and I discovered that I could slide it through this hole and then connect another piece on the other side and clamp it to the circle at the back of the flower. Once I figured out the secret to creating these 3 smaller petals, I had my blueprint to assemble the rest. And now that I have all the flowers assembled, it's time to start putting them on the stems. I just have to go through and remove some pegs so I can add these new pieces and attach the flowers to the stems. After taking one more look at the box, I realized I was missing the pieces that go at the end of the stems. And after adding these 2 weird green tentacle things to the bottom, I can finally start adding all the brown pieces to simulate the dirt. Looking at the box, I can't tell if these were actually supposed to fit in any particular order or anything, so I just kind of laid them in haphazardly and thought it looked good enough. And with the final dirt block placed, it's time to round up all the remaining pieces to see what we have left. Not bad. And there you have it, folks. A Lego set built entirely from our imagination and creativity. It was a challenging but rewarding journey, pushing us to think outside the box, literally. Remember, the possibilities are endless when you let your creativity guide you. Until next time, happy building.